lot of learning from them, and we are glad that we have the Honorable Ambassador of Korea, Mr. Hyun Cho, present with us. Thank you once again for the support. As we said, this is the sixth edition which we have, sixth year that we are going with this relationship with Korea. Thank you once again, and we now look forward to your views. Inviting you, sir, for your special address.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Birla, Secretary General Didar Singh, it's nice to be here. It's always good to be back in FICCI. Well, as I have been here slightly over a year, and this is my second time on this seminar, I was just underway raising this question to myself. What can justify the Korean embassy to be involved in this process on and on? For the past 6 years, we've been quite proud to work together with FICCI. But as for CSR seminar, what are the concrete results? Here are some answers that I've given to myself. First, I'm not a businessman, but if you work hard, sleep on difficult issues, you can make a better decision. And just like you can do better in business by thinking hard, you can do also better in CSR. It can, by studying CSR and sharing the achievements, as Madam Birla just introduced to us, and discussing the contents of it, we can do even CSR better. We can enhance the efficiency and efficacy of it. Indeed, I'm very proud to report to you that about 2 months ago, we held another joint workshop together with FICCI here in this building by inviting members of the United Nations Global Compact. And by sitting there for about 2 hours, I learned a lot. I knew that there are basic pillars of United Nations Global Compact, just like human rights, child labor issues, anti-bribery, and environmental issues. But all in all, how to achieve the sustainability of corporate activities. There were a lot of important details, and we all know that God is in details. And secondly, I was just thinking that we can also do better by going together, not just doing alone. By doing together with FICCI and introducing some best practice, successful stories with other companies, other countries like this. Indeed, as for Korean companies, they have been doing it. I vividly recall that I was seated next to Shah Rukh Khan when Hyundai Motor Company was holding a CSR ceremony of how we can reduce the traffic accident with Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. Well, Samsung is now contemplating on sending some tablets to schools in different regions and parts of India. Now, together with NDRC, Samsung is working on it, and I'm proud that the embassy here was able to offer a helping hand. But more importantly, I was very glad that a small company, one of the SMEs from Korea, Giga Terra, had a ceremony of lightening the shanty town in New Delhi with their products, that is LED bulbs, together with, again, NDRC. So working together, we can do quite better. The third reason I was just thinking is that by having this kind of workshop, we can set the standard and increase the awareness of the importance of CSR and let others know about it. As for today, as of now, there are about 500 Korean companies in India. But I'm sure that it will be soon increasing to the number of over 1,000 because of the booming Indian industry. And when new companies from Korea come to India, they do not know much about the CSR, how it can be best achieved here in India. So by sharing these information and experience from the very start for a company who just landed in India, we can achieve the high level of efficiency and efficacy. Luckily, from next year on, Korea will join the G7 economies in sending our official development assistance to India. Not because the Korean economy is as big as the G7, but, well, I can take credit for it. I have worked so hard for it. Anyway, if that happens, thank you. Many more Korean NGOs taking advantage of the Korean ODA money will come to India, and they will work on a number of actual CSR programs in the field, in rural villages. So what you do today will be a good relevance and guidelines for these newly coming NGOs and workers from next year on. So I have high expectations on the discussions you are going to have today, and I wish you again a very fruitful discussion today, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your guiding message. And as you said, that the companies need to realize it all the more that what is good for their people and their planet stands very good also for their businesses. And as you mentioned, the Korean companies are now also wanting to make a social impact in India. LG and Samsung, the two brands which we have, are no more in fact considered as multinational brands. We Indians take it as our Indian brands only. That is the kind of the trust and confidence which the Korean brands have been able to gain in our country. And now Korea showing interest also towards the social impact in our country. And thank you so very much, sir, for taking that personal initiative and personal interest in building this bonds of equal partnership between the two countries. Thank you very much, sir. And now we have the release of the knowledge paper, which has been prepared by FICCI. I would like to request His Excellency, I would like to request Srimati Bella and Dr. Didar Singh to kindly release this knowledge paper. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a compendium, a compilation of CSR projects which have been undertaken by companies that were appreciated by the independent jury of FICCI CSR Awards. The compendium endeavors to provide the companies and the CSR stakeholders with insights and comprehensive overview of the CSR impactful practices. It highlights 12 CSR projects from 6 key areas: education, environment, sustainability, post-disaster rehabilitation, skills, livelihood, water, health, sanitation, and women empowerment. So as we come to the conclusion of the inaugural session, I would now like to request Ms. Jyoti Vij, the Deputy Secretary General of FICCI, to kindly propose a formal vote of thanks.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasant task to propose a vote of thanks this morning at this event. It's been like about 15 years since FICCI's been doing the CSR Awards, and many, many years also that we've been doing the CSR event. But I think we not only just do these events and bring together people, but we are also doing a lot of intense workshops and master classes to create capacity in this whole space, given the kind of priority which the companies themselves are giving to this area, so that we can create right kind of environment and right kind of people to deliver the CSR projects in the country. FICCI, through its Socio-Economic Development Foundation, is also working with a lot of companies in helping them deliver the CSR. There are, I think, about a half a dozen which we are engaged in, and my colleagues can give you more details of that. So my special thanks to Mrs. Birla for not only chairing the FICCI CSR committee, but also inspiring and guiding us at every step through the work that the company, Aditya Birla Group, is doing through the group companies, and her personal interest and in this whole space. Of course, Ambassador, thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you for supporting this Korea CSR Forum for last 6 years. Your country's been involved with us, and I've been to Seoul and been to a Kotra event, and I know how much priority Korean companies are giving to CSR in not only in their own country, but also helping hand-holding your own medium-sized companies to really do philanthropic and CSR activities in the other countries, which is a great inspirational thing for all of us. And this is without any mandatory provision, which India has, of course, gone the path. I do hope that these 2 days will be enjoyable. We'll provide you array of sessions that focus on strengthening the CSR strategizing, operation and measurement of impact, and build on the expertise of the companies and implementation agencies alike in different domains of social development. And it's our endeavor really to be able to create more collaborations, build more partnerships in this space, because we feel that more we come together, the higher will be the outcome and the impact of the project. So I think that's one of the objectives that FICCI SEDF is working towards, and we do hope to get cooperation from all of you. So thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to you staying through us through the awards as well in the evening. Thanks.
Thank you, and once again, thank you to our distinguished speakers. Thank you to all of you also for joining us in the inaugural session. And now we slip into a short tea and coffee break. We've been very good on time. 11:30, in fact, we are going to be starting with our next session. That's the 6th Korea-India CSR Forum. We look forward to you having in that forum also. Please join us for tea and coffee outside. Thank you. People who have joined in, we'll just wait for another 2 minutes. Let all the participants be a part of the session, and then we start with the session. Looking deeply into the participation of the Korean companies in India for strengthening the CSR ecosystem for a sustainable impact. As mentioned in the morning, Korea has been very closely working and supporting FICCI in our initiatives, in our CSR initiatives. This is a bilateral forum between the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry and the Embassy of the Republic of Korea, being funded by the Embassy of the Republic of Korea. 6-year partnership, we are taking it forward with Korea. And the main objectives of the forum are to introduce the CSR theories and the policies of both the countries, discuss on how the CSR initiatives of the Indian and the Korean companies fit into the Indian context, We share the best practices of the CSR initiative, which was mentioned by the Honorable Ambassador. We look into the management of the supply chain domestically and internationally, communicate research results concerning CSR, and provide a platform to exchange and share ideas between the policymakers, academicians, and businesses. This is the major objective of this forum. At the same time, to engage, share, discuss, and understand the essence of the CSR practices, the challenges, the best practices, the various prospects which it holds towards the business opportunities coming up for each other, and more bonds of equal partnerships between the two countries. So I would like to invite our session speakers, first inviting our distinguished moderator of the session, Dr. Vinita Datta Roy, Professor, Birla Institute of Management Technology. Our panelists for the session, Mr. Sridhar K., Head of Hyundai Motor India Foundation. Inviting Mr. Bhuvnesh Singh Chauhan, HR Team Leader of the LG Electronics India Limited. And Mr. Deepak Bhardwaj, Vice President, Head of CSR Samsung Electronics. We will also be having a special address and a special presentation looking into the Korea-India historical and cultural linkages and contemporary relations, including economic relations. And the presenter, I would like to invite the presenter of this talk, Dr. Sandeep Kumar Mishra, Assistant Professor of Korean Studies, Center for East Asian Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. So as we start, I would like to request the moderator for the opening remarks, and then we have the presentations by our respective speakers and panelists. The question answers we are going to be taking at the end of the session. Thank you.
Okay, a very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm very pleased that when we converge, this is the 6th time that we are converging at the Indian platform, the Korean companies. The Korean companies, they are distinguished not only in the sense that they are leading companies in India, but then you have some of the stellar companies which are leading companies in the world and from their domestic country as well. So welcome all of you. Welcome Mr. Sridhar from Hyundai Motors. Welcome Deepak ji from Samsung. Welcome Bhuvanesh from LG and Dr. Sandeep. Welcome all of you. When we start thinking of the role that business has in the society today, we can now at least, I'm taking the 20-year period because this is significant. Why the 20-year period? Because both for the countries which is India and Korea, this 20-year period has been the period which is of significant turmoil and a significant amount of churning that has happened in this particular space. The representatives here from the country Korea, would agree with me that since the time that the country Korea suffered from the Asian economic crisis, it has very conspicuously looked at the space of CSR and what CSR can do for the companies and do for the society for overall development. Similarly, if I take, and in fact, you will all agree with me, if I take a cue from India, the last 20 years have been significant in terms of shaping up the CSR as we see today. In both the countries, if we may note, we'll see that CSR, started with philanthropy, was majorly known as a philanthropic activity. Not to blame, because our world had suffered, till 1945, if we see, our world was in a kind of a, turmoil where we saw a lot of misery. And then, yes, the businesses, they responded by being philanthropic. So nothing bad in it. But as we evolved and as the world saw more prosperity, the need was felt that, you know, the CSR also evolves. The Korean companies, if now I'll come, you know, fast forward it to the year 2013, and this too, you know, I can draw parallels for both the countries, because 2013 also has been very significant for both the countries. 2013 and, you know, the Korean companies, and particularly the Korean government, it took it as an agenda to drive across to the Korean companies that CSR was becoming more significant. So the business heads, the business executives, they were urged to, you know, take the CSR agenda from philanthropy, from maybe social contributions, maybe donations, working with the children, working with the elderly, working with the disabled people, which were primarily the kind of CSR activities that the Korean companies undertook, to maybe transcend from that particular level to another level of, you know, bringing in more equitable growth. When we talk of equitable growth, we're also talking of, you know, respect for universal human ethics, respect for universal fundamental human rights. And if we trace it here in India, you would see that also, you know, for the past 20 years, we've been working aggressively towards bringing in some kind of a decisive and some kind of a comprehensive guideline for the companies. And December 2013, you know, we could bring in the first, you know, such kind of legislation which mandated the CSR spending in our country. A radical step indeed. And in April 2014, we've seen that most of the companies came in line and came in, you know, terms of order, in terms of seeing and noting what the kind of legislation, the kinds of rules and policies the CSR field, you know, held them with. Now, we've seen 2 years that the country has witnessed work in this area with a new legislation, with a new set of framework, with a new set of policies, guidelines for the companies. Not to say that they were not working in this area, but then, yes, to give it a more homogenized and a more emphatic push, we have Schedule 7, and all of you are aware, we have Schedule 7 listed in the section, you know, 135 of the new Devised Companies Act. And how have we performed over the years? It's pretty, you know, not very long, but over the 2 years, some of the positive things have been that the companies have, you know, spent more. So when the first reporting year ended, we saw that the companies were spending, you know, the top 100 companies were spending somewhere about, you know, close to 5,000 crores. But then it did increase to a 6,000 crore at the end of the year 2. At least the writings on the wall is very clear. None of the companies are unwilling today not to spend on social contribution. At least this is, you know, from my experience in the field, this is what I garner and what I gather. And that is very, you know, it gives, it's heartening to note. Similarly, in Korea, over the past 2 years, there has been a continuous increase in the social contribution. And there too, the governments are now evolving and putting some of the concepts and urging companies to maybe look at their CSR spends and at their CSR policies more from the point of view of business ethics and respect for human rights. So these are the kind of parallels that we can see in both the countries. Another point is, you know, the India and Korean experience. Why is it, you know, significant? It is also significant because not very long ago, Korea was, you know, even poorer than some of the sub-Saharan economies in the world. And today it sits, you know, in some of the elitist developed economies of the world. So yes, Korea has done it, and it has, today it has businesses which are, multi-billion-dollar businesses, and the country is out of the shambles of poverty. So, of course, South Koreans, Korea as a company, Korea as a country, and Korean companies have done it. And with the new agenda, how do they empower and how do they align, for a multinational company, if I may note, some of the challenges are to localize their CSR initiatives. How do they embed their CSR initiatives in a way that it is localized and yet it is differentiated. So that's one of the major challenges for multinational companies, not just for Korean companies, but for most of the other multinational companies as well. But then this is what we will explore. How has LG, Hyundai, Samsung, have aligned their CSR initiatives, which of course, in terms of their social contributions, they are leading companies. But how have they aligned to the new legislation, to the new requirements that the Act presents to them? So let us explore by hearing to the cases that the three leading company representatives will be presenting to us. And we will also see, we have Dr. Sandeep Kumar Mishra, who is a leading expert in international studies at the JNU. And he would also, give us a context. In fact, at the end, Doctor? Yeah. So at the end, he would also, give us how, the two economies are parallel, what are the kind of cultural contexts that they share, and so on. So thank you very much for this patient listening, and I now throw open the discussion, and I think our leading discussion will be by Mr. Sridhar from Hyundai. He's the director, Hyundai Foundation, and it will be interesting to see what are the kind of initiatives that Hyundai Motor Foundation is, unleashing in India. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I have, apart from this opening remarks, I have a slightly not so pleasant duty to keep time. So may I urge everybody to keep their presentations to 10 to 12 minutes at the maximum, so that we can have some questions at the end and we wrap up in time for a hearty meal. Yeah? I think the audience is with me. Yes.
Respected Madam Chairperson of the FICCI, Honorable Ambassador of Republic of Korea, dignitaries on dais, ladies and gentlemen. I feel actually nostalgic because I left my grandmother in 1992-93 in the same place to receive an outstanding women social worker award. That time I was in Indian Air Force, and now I am trying to do justice to her legacy actually. So if I stumble here and there, please excuse me. And first time Hyundai is coming out and telling what we are doing in CSR. So before starting, let me introduce our group companies a little bit. It's in one line sentence. Hyundai Motor Group, actually in many areas you can see the construction, automobile, parts manufacturing, steel, and a lot of other areas, internationally established, and they have proved their strength in every area. And the founder, Mr. Chung Ju-young, long back he has funded this, and the present chairman is Mr. Changmang Koo. Coming to India, in 1996, the factory started in automobile, particularly in Chennai. The factory started in 1996, and within 2 years, construction completed, and 1998, they were able to establish the industry. And presently our Mr. Yang Ki Koo is the managing director, who is also our chairman of our CSR committee, along with other two directors, following the Indian company laws norms. Until 2006, we were all doing all type of philanthropic activities, but in the year 2006, we were able to give justice, and we started in the formal group, Hyundai Motor India Foundation, and under the Charitable Trust Act, we were able to do all the activities in a structured manner. Now it has been, we have got 4 trustees on this, Mr. Stephen Sudhakar, Senior Vice President of HR and General Services, Mr. Rakesh Srivatsava, Senior Vice President, Marketing and Sales, Mr. Ganesh Mani, Vice President of Production, and Mr. Ramesh N, Assistant Vice President,